are listening to Voice of Uganda Radio, the mouthpiece of all Ugandans, wherever they may be, to voice their problems without fear of any retribution. The Voice of Uganda Radio works in sync with FADU, the Federalist Alliance of Democracy and Development in Uganda. FADU is an organization that was formed to work as a platform for all Ugandans at home and outside, to work synergistically to liberate our mother Uganda from the ruthless invaders that have sucked it dry. Therefore, FADU invites all able Ugandans to act now and save the Ugandan humanity that is being slaughtered, destroyed, and robbed by a few people unworthy to call themselves Ugandans. Many people are crying for action in Uganda as they languish in misery. FADU echoes their cries by making the loudest alarm to everyone to join FADU, not tomorrow or the next day, but today. The number to join is 408. Welcome to Voice of Uganda Radio. I am your host, Miss Brenda, and you are tuned in for the next 2 hours of Freedom at Hand. So thank you so much for being aboard. I did say good morning. I know that here in the United States of America, it's in the AM, but I understand that some countries that are listening to us, you are already moved over into the PM. So thank you so much for being a part of the show. We are on at a new time, so I'm glad that some of you remembered that and have gone out there and looked at our program schedule out on Voice of Uganda Radio. We here at Voice of Uganda Radio decided to move our schedule around a little for Sunday. So Anna Deck, the President Guild-elect there at Macquarie University, is going to be a host on our show on Sundays. And for those of our listeners there in Uganda, this just seemed to be a better time for us to do it. So thank you all for waking up and being a part of the show this morning. I do want to thank those of you who have gone out to FADU and registered to become a member of FADU. I will tell you that one of the things we're noticing is when you go out and you go into the registration tab there to register, after you register, it is going to send you a confirmation email that will go into your email box, and that's just to confirm that your email address is correct. When you get that confirmation, it takes just a minute or two. It pops over into your email. Please go over into your email and click on that link. And when that link opens up, it'll just tell you, thank you, you have registered with FADU. For some of you who have computers that are very sensitive, it may go into your junk box. So if you don't see it in your regular mailbox, just go over into your junk box and click on it there. And that way, when we start to send massive emails or communicate with our members who are members of FADU or whatever, you'll be a part of that and you will get that information. But I just wanted to just reiterate that the registration is not complete until you go in and confirm from your email when it sends you a link back to your email address. So make sure you're going in there, clicking on that and opening that up. But I want to thank those who have started to become members, and I want to continue to encourage all of those who haven't become members to please get on board and go ahead and go out there and register. That is going to be a huge tool later on here, especially in the United States, when we go before the Foreign Affairs Committee with petitions about things that may be happening in Uganda to some of the citizens there. And we want to bring the attention to a bigger audience, especially the American audience. You know, those petitions have to have at least 2,000 signatures on them before they will even take it to the floor and open it up and look at it. So if we're saying we want to get on board, and if we're saying, indeed, we want to start moving Uganda in the right direction towards true democracy, please get on board and become a member of FADU so that when the time comes and these atrocities continue to happen, there we can be the voice for the Ugandan people that are there in Uganda. Anna Adek's going to be my guest this morning, and so is Dorothy. She will be coming in later on the program. Those of you who were with me for the American Connection Wednesday, know that I got very emotional about a lot of the things that were in the media there. So I know Anna and I will talk about some of those things, and I will also give Anna some time to talk about some things that have been happening this week and going on there in Uganda. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on in because we only have a 2-hour show, and we do want to open up the last hour for any phone calls that may want to come in. So Anna, good morning. Are you there?
Yes, Brenda, I'm here. Good afternoon from Uganda.
I know. Thank you so much for the reminder. I have to keep that in mind. So tell me, how are you doing? How's things been there this week in Uganda?
Oh, well, it's been a very interesting week, especially with what's happening in the region now, the Al-Shabaab attacks and all those kinds of things. We're seeing police in panic mode and trying to revamp the security. However, on my part with the education sector, we are seeing that teachers trying to reach an agreement with the government to get them the 20% salary increment. So it's not very clear right now whether they've, picked up their tools and they're going back to class. But what is very clear is that finally government is in talking mode and has stopped to threaten the teachers with dismissing them, with punishing them, calling them unpatriotic and all those kinds of things. So it's been a very interesting week.
Well, you know what, too, Anna, I'm really glad to hear that, because it's no way to treat people in the positions that the teachers are in. And I'm hoping that it's because the people are starting to rally behind the teachers, and they're starting to see more of a uniting of the Ugandan people, that the government is starting to have to approach what they're doing in a different way. Now, I noticed from the news that it was saying that they've gone back to school, but they're supposed to get the increases within 28 to 30 days. What is that?
Well, what the government says is that in 28 to 30 days, they'll have confirmed exactly the percentage that will be given to the teachers, and that means their increment of salary is going to be effective October. But we're not very certain how that is going to last, because we've had government do that before, promise lecturers, promise teachers, and tell them this academic year you're going to get 110%. But just 3 months into the academic year, they're striking and they're complaining that nothing has come through. The Ministry of Public Service and Finance are saying they do not have money. And I don't think this position is going to change in any way significantly. It will not change because because the ministries maintain they don't have enough money. But in my opinion, I think it's just a political statement. It's just one of the many things that they say.
Now, I noticed that the junior finance minister said that, Uganda has to clean up its books because it still has a lot of ghost teachers out there that are on the book that are not actually in positions. So if by chance they decide to take all of those funds where they allocated and said it's going out to people that it's not, hopefully that will help them find some of the monies that they need to pay the teachers.
Well, this has been ongoing for a long time, and the issue of ghost teachers existing is not news. We've known about it for a very long time, raised dust about it, and it seems to be the practice, kind of the tradition, that almost in every institution there are ghost people. When it comes to paying pension, there are ghost people, and NSSF will tell you that the number of pensioners is more than they should be. Then you go to the defense sector, there are ghost soldiers. You come to the education sector, there are ghost teachers. Even in UPE, there are ghost pupils. So it's a very bad practice, but that shows you how corruptible the entire system has become, because there's clearly no willingness to fight it. That there are ghost teachers that we have known for a very long time. And we've tried to raise so much dust about it, but it always ends in a fruitless battle, because either the Ministry of Public Service is not willing and is not very insistent on following up where these ghost teachers are lying and who's paying them, why they're still why they exist on the payroll. No one is ready to push it. But I'd like to commend that minister, because it's a very hard thing for them to admit, but they know about it. However, it's one thing to actually say it exists and you don't want to fight it. That's the problem with the government. They know that ghost teachers exist, they know that ghost soldiers exist, but they're not going to do anything about it. And yet, when you look at all these bodies that are empowered with that muscle to fight corruption, they're all state-owned, they're government-owned. So if there's no willingness to actually fight it, it doesn't help us in any way if they continue to, mention it and reiterate and try to confuse us and make us believe that they actually know when there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, I feel that a lot with a lot of leadership positions there in Uganda, that the knowledge of what's going on is there, but the push to be able to fight and carry it through is not there. I really have to commend him, the junior finance ministry there, for, making the comment like you just said. I have to commend you as well for coming on these programs and talking about things openly and honestly. And, just for the colonel and the general, there seems to be a push now that Ugandans are really starting to say, we've got to make our voice heard. Otherwise, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. So in saying that, do you feel like the more people are starting to admit things are happening, or admit that these things are taking place in the government, that the government, it takes a different position each and every time, it makes the people of Uganda a little bit stronger?
Well, it's one thing, because when you look at how far we've come, the problems the country has faced, and what people have tried to do about it, you'll notice that very few people are informed. I'll give you an example. I am a guild president of a university of about 40,000 students, but these students, they don't know the things that they should know. They pride in spending their time watching movies, and they don't even care that increasing taxes on water is going to affect every single Ugandan, and it will reach you even if you're hiding somewhere, because water is life. Water is used to do everything. So they kind of shut themselves out of that reality. But now, if we have more Ugandans know about this, it's going to be better. I just don't think that a minister mentioning it is proof that more Ugandans know about it. You see, the elite may know about these things, but the people who own the decision-making power in this country, Article 1 of our Constitution says that power belongs to the people. Those people we are talking about at the grassroots level are not knowledgeable about these things. So, yeah, he may say it and create an idea that it's a good thing for us to start realizing and agreeing on some of these points. But that's one thing. The other thing is that the people who should actually know these things, the people who have the power in their hands, don't have this kind of information. They don't know that they're paying ghost pensioners with the money that is being saved as Social Security Fund. They don't know that they are funding the UPDF, which has ghost soldiers, and continues to pay for people who died years ago. So I don't think that the right people who should have the information know it yet. That is why I know that this struggle is still a long way. We still have a lot to do. We need to inform the people who have that power in their hands, who can change everything, so that when they're informed, they start to think about the kind of country that they want. So they start to work so that they can create it. And one of the many ways we can do that is to reach each of them in separate ways. You find university students, it's appalling. They've at least acquired a good level of education, and they know the value of reading and trying to find out and be interested about the things that surround you. However, for some reason, they seem so detached from the governance of their country, and yet they're the young people. They're supposed to be taking charge of their country now. So one of the ways you can actually reach them and give them this kind of information is to reach them the way they seem to prefer. If it is movies that they like to watch, then we need to give them documentaries with this kind of information and ask them, where are your public resources being used? How are they being used? You know, you pay taxes every day through your tuition, through purchasing commodities. Each of you pays tax. Are you questioning what your tax is doing for you? Why do you still have roads with so many potholes that are big like craters, yet you continue to pay for infrastructure to be improved? These kinds of things. And then you go to the grassroots level. They don't have this information and they need it so badly, because if they start to understand and comprehend how government is misusing their resources. I mean, you have teachers. I'll tell you the life of an average teacher. He does not even own a car. He walks to work and walks back, and his family is constantly feeding on posho and beans because it's the most affordable. Now, if you have a teacher like that in a society and you educate him that the reason why you're not receiving the salary you should be receiving is because government is paying ghost teachers, and that money that should be coming to you as a real teacher, an actual living person, in a higher amount, is being taken by some individual somewhere who's creating a ghost, a role of ghost teachers who don't exist, and reaping that kind of benefit. That is the kind of information that will empower them. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to see the minister's confirmation of ghost teachers existing as an assurance that now we know what we want and we know where we want to go.
So are you saying that some of the lecturers and the professors that are there at the university levels are sort of accepting their fate and not questioning or not looking at ways in which their lives can be bettered through the government?
Yes, Brenda. It's sadly that because they somehow have managed to settle for where they have. It's like they've gotten tired of the fight, which is a very bad thing, because that is what Museveni wants us to do, to get tired of the fight. And it's very important that at such points we continue to encourage each other, because it's still a very long time in coming. We need to realize that we deserve these things so that we can work for them. That for him to pay lecturers is not doing them he's not giving them a favor. It is because they deserve that. But the way they've seemed to be resigned to this is because of kind of the trend. I'll tell you, a recent study reflected that a good number of Ugandans are happy people. Now, if you are looking at that on the outside, you'd say, wow, this country must be thriving. For a good number of the populace to be very happy people, they love life and all those kinds of things, they seem to have become comfortable. Then they must be in a very good place, financially, economically, socially, politically. But when you come and you understand why Ugandans are among the happiest people, then you realize that Ugandans have been given below average, that for a very long time, 30 years is a very long time, they have come to think below average is where they should exist. They have come to actually appreciate and live in that surrounding, that the little things, the below average position is what they deserve. So naturally, they've become resigned to that, to those facts. They've become, it's become agreeable that they should live like they're living. That now they're actually becoming happy. They're not happy because they're actually getting what they deserve. They're happy because they don't know what they deserve. They think what they are getting now is actually a favor. So that's a very disappointing thing, but it's a reality.
And it is a reality, because it's interesting. People that I have talked to that have visited Uganda, Americans, it's very interesting how they say the love of the people. People are so happy. People are so friendly. They are giving and caring people, and they invite you into their homes, and they have nothing, but the homes are clean. There may be fresh flowers that someone picked that's there on the table, and they don't even know what they're going to eat that night for dinner or how they're going to survive next week. But they live in the moment. They live right now, and that's all that they know. And I think you're right in saying that the government has suppressed the people to such a point that they think that what they have is all they're worthy of, which we know is not the truth. And I think that that's one of the reasons for Voice of Uganda Radio to come in where it's coming in now, because we don't want people to give up on the fight. We don't want people to get complacent and start accepting where they're at and what they have, when we know that they are worth far more and that they should have far more than they have. And it's not for a government to decide who should have and who shouldn't have. Everybody should be able to enjoy and reap those benefits. So I do agree with you with what you're saying about most people say that Ugandans are very, very happy. And when you come back and you tell people that, they think, oh, well, they're living life and they must be comfortable and they must be whatever. But that's far from the truth. Most of these people are suffering day in and day out.
Yeah, Brenda, that is really true. I'll give you a classic example. I'm from the northeastern part of the country, which is right now suffering from famine. We're being hit by famine. And the thing you will realize when you visit that part of the country is that you can find a homestead that just has potatoes that have been probably kept for the last 3 months. They dry them in some way and are able to store them. You'll find them very happy, and when you come, they will invite you with open arms and share with you the little they have, and life will continue like that, because that is how it has been for the past 30 years. And when that child is growing, even if when they grow up and have families of their own, that is still going to be the trend. When you find that a gold deposit has been discovered in a place like Kamuria, which is still in the same region of the country, very few people are interested to know what exploitation of that gold should be like. They don't care about the trend it should take, because they don't see that if it is well exploited, the area can actually become really developed, and the people there can benefit. They can get employment, infrastructure can be made better, and these farmers who are trying very much to set up something for themselves can actually benefit from these kinds of things. But when their resources are misused, when exploration and extraction actually starts long before it has been made official, and probably the government has good deployment there, policemen are there, and a company that's unknown is extracting the gold, they will look and not care, because they think they are okay where they are. They have no idea what, making sure that this resource is well exploited for the right reasons, for the betterment of the entire country, will do for them. Yeah, so because it's a very bad place.
Yeah, because the exploitation of people there in Uganda is horrible. We were traveling on the countryside, and we stopped to get these bananas, this bunch of bananas, matoke, for, because we wanted to take it back and cook it. And I was very shocked at the small amount of money that the farmer asked for those goods. And I think what has happened, I realized when we left, is that the people there don't really realize the value of what they're growing and what they're selling and what they have, simply because the corruption is not just in the government. The corruption is in the way that the people are treated with their goods, because some of the things that they're selling is worth way, way more. And I would love to see the government come in and regulate that in some way, so that these people can have an honest living off of what they're growing and what they're taking to the marketplace to sell, instead of being criminalized and given only what someone thinks they should have, instead of the value of what it's really worth.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem that I would have with the government as a young person, because a lot of times we've talked about unemployment and how we have the bulk of the population, 78% in Uganda are living under below the age of 30 years, and an average Ugandan now is 15 years old. So when we say that we're unemployed, we get all these kinds of comments that, Ugandan youth are very lazy, Ugandan youth are not innovative, you don't want to do this like this. But you see, you find a young person like that when you're talking about the agriculture sector is the heart of this country, but it's getting the least funding. You have bodies like NADS that are being given billions, and yet they are not doing anything. That money is still being squandered. Corruption is costing our economy, because agriculture is the heart of our economy. But then you find a sector like that could employ young people has not been empowered. And then you find that the government that should be creating for us opportunities, that should be looking out for us and seeing where the young people can actually fit and become financially independent, not happening. So is it that the government does not have enough contacts, or is there no will at all to make sure that they can create so many alliances that can empower the young people here, so that they can be more independent, they can get employment, and try to better the economy by at least making sure we don't have so many idle minds lying around, a high crime rate like there exists right now. But time and again, it still has zeroed down to the idea that young people in Uganda are lazy, young people in Uganda want to be spoon-fed. We just don't have the opportunities. And it's because the people supposed to create these opportunities are busy doing other things than doing this for us.
I know, because sometimes when I read the paper or the Observer or the Monitor and I read about different things happening there, the solutions pop into my head of how these things can be eradicated or fixed. And I just think about the article I read about the nurses there at the hospital that are overwhelmed because of all the patients that are coming in and how understaffed they are. And from what you're saying, with that many youth in Uganda unemployed, I don't know why the hospital doesn't implement a program to bring some of those, maybe 30 to 50 of those youths in, take them through some sort of training program to train them to do the basic necessities of what they need, cleaning people, washing people, helping with small things that the nurses don't have to give their attention to, and then paying these people a very, very small salary, because you're not going to have to pay them the equivalent of what a nurse makes, but you can pay them something, get them off the road, get them off the streets and give them accountability for themselves. But you can't blame the youth, like you're saying, when you're not doing anything to implement and help them find employment by just something as simple as that, taking 50 people, training them, sending them out to these small hospitals, paying them very, very small salaries.
That's a challenge. But just this week on Monday, I hosted the Minister for Youth, very controversial gentleman.
Oh, I know, and I'm glad you've gone over to him, because he was on my list this morning, but go ahead.
Yes, so we did host him, and when we were discussing the feasibility of having a youth fund at 260 billion and how it is going to open channels for us young people, we shared with him the reality, because it's not the first time the president is standing up to say, I have this money for the young people. 2 years ago, 14 billion, another kind of scheme was started. Then the graduate fund was started. All that for the young people. But if you ask actually how many young people are able to get this money, they're very numbered. And then if you go on and assess how many young people have had their lives actually change because of this, still that's almost a very, very tiny percentage. Then you ask yourself, why would the government put 260 billion in starting up businesses for young people who have not even understood that discipline of handling and actually and working hard, of the discipline of business and how it's supposed to thrive. Because as a young person, you cannot blame me if you give me 5 million and you think that it's going to change my life. Then I'm going to be like that prodigal son in the Bible. I will go and dissipate the money. Yes, I do have my own needs and desires. I need nice looking clothes, and that's how most young people think. What the government should do is try and exercise a more parental position, a more parental way of doing things. Why you know that the young people in this country are they're the ages, and they're supposed to be in school, or they're trying to start up a career somewhere. So why don't you invest such monies into the education sector? See, like those nurses that we would have actually. We have nursing schools that have collapsed over time because there's no funding for them. So you don't actually need to put someone through primary school, secondary school, university, and back to a nursing school for them to be a nurse. They can actually branch off after their O-level and study nursing and not get employment, because we have hospitals like Mulago, which is the biggest referral hospital, and it's being understaffed. So you can only imagine what's in the other parts of the country. And yet we have so many young people who are ready to do this. So instead of giving it as a mere puff, just a political statement that's meant to excite young people, why can't the government actually put this 260 billion it's claiming to have into doing things such as this, so young people can actually get hands-on skills which will help them?
Exactly, because in the American sector, that's exactly what they realize. We don't have the nurses. We don't have time for the nurses to go through all of the education that they need to go through to get to where we need them. Yet we also don't have all the funding, because a nurse salary here in the United States is pretty high. I mean, it's very, very high. So you're right in saying, why not take that money and educate the children, these youth, on a smaller level, so that because if you think about it, in a hospital, if you have 2 or 3 head nurses, and then you give them a lot of assistants underneath them that are making a fraction or a much, much smaller salary, your money will go much, much farther, and you'll do much, much better under those conditions.
But you see, Brenda, what I came to realize from that discussion we actually had with the minister is that there is no such money. Of course, announcements will be made that this money is there and you can access it, but they will put such tight bottlenecks to make sure that it's very hard for you to access this money, because in reality it's not there. Right now, the light on regarding the financial status of the country is red. It's doing badly. The coffers are empty. And the government can only try to cover this up in as far as they think they'll be fooling us. But we really know what's happening. Because if a 20% increment cannot be stomached in fear of the fact that other civil servants will also ask for maybe 5%, 10%, which won't be enough, then it shows you that there is no money. The money that is there is actually being used for things such as purchasing enough artillery and armory, executing all these dubious deals. Because just a few days ago, in Parliament, the Finance Committee was sitting, and the government was announcing that it's going to borrow $2 billion from a Chinese bank for the dam project, which they said they had already ring-fenced money for. So now we're asking, you tell us that you've ring-fenced money, then why are you borrowing $2 billion to put us into a bigger debt? And yet, this is a debt we and our children are going to be paying for all our lives. So why can't government come clean about these things? Because
Yeah, because it sounds to me from what you're saying, it's like the government is getting ready to go into a shutdown, collapse almost, because you're right. If you have a public thing going on like right now with the teachers striking, and you don't even have the funding, and you're having to look for money to pay the teachers instead of pulling it out of some other emergency fund, it sounds like the cupboard is bare, like there is no funds.
No, actually, it sounds like there is no money. I would say there's no money to do all the luxuries. There's actually enough money to do what is necessary. There's enough money that is going to pay for teachers. There's enough money to do all those kinds of things. But because they don't see that as very important, and the money has instead been sent to do all these kinds of things, the president just bought about 6 more vehicles that consume explosive fuel. Just on Friday, the UPDF handed in accountability, and they said that a saucepan was being priced at 2 million Uganda shillings. Brenda, that is terrible theft. There is no saucepan, even if it is steel or it's made of the world's most precious metal, that can go for 2 million. And even then, you're a Ugandan. The last thing your country needs is some people living so luxuriously that they're cooking in saucepans of 2 million when there is a child somewhere who can't even eat a banana of 200 shillings. So it's a very, very bad thing, because we know that, the money is there. They're just misusing it to an extent that now the coffers are turning red. I mean, they're saying we're in debt. That's true. But even the money that is there is being misused. So it doesn't help us to do, two wrongs don't make a right. You don't have enough money for starters, but the little you have is being selfishly used. And sectors that are in dire need of such help are being ignored. And I think that's where the problem actually emanates from.
Yeah, because I got to see pictures of the president's private jet that he flew here to the United States in for the meetings here at the UN. And when I think of the ruins of the country, when I think of the poverty in the country, when I think of the teachers striking on education and professors and lecturers not being paid and doctors not even making the equivalent of what they should make, you have made a good and clear decision in saying that monies are there, they're just going into other usages. That jet was the equivalent of a movie star here in the United States. It was just so elaborate. I was very, very surprised. Now, I do understand, and I know that heads of states and leaders in countries travel a little different than the rest of us. But it wouldn't have bothered me so much if I didn't know of all the other things that are happening in Uganda right now, for the luxuries in which this president moves around the country, and it just was amazing to me.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very disturbing.
And just to park your airplane, because these planes, you have to understand, when they come in from these great leaders, those planes have to be housed in a different place than any other airspace, and there's 24-hour-a-day protection and all of this stuff. And these presidents pay millions of dollars, not just to fly here, but the protection of their planes while they're here, room and board, and everything that they're going through while they're here. They paid millions of dollars, and and all of this is at the taxpayers' expense of the Ugandan people. And you're talking about a government that can't even turn on the water in one of its hospitals, and yet they're here with this elaborance,
Yeah, that is bad. It's very bad, and I think it splits the country even further, because if the president can't fly his daughter to give birth in Germany, it's because he knows that Ugandan hospitals are not as equipped and up to standard enough to have his grandson born in. But these other hospitals where the Ugandans who are paying for that money to house his jet, to buy that jet, to house it, to fuel it, to take the first daughter to Germany to give birth, they can't even access a hospital. They're giving birth in their huts, their grass-thatched huts, and the umbilical cords are being cut by blunt knives, and being tied up with some kinds of, tree hubs and all those kinds of things. But such disparity makes you question, why are we all living in the same country if development can only belong to a specific kind of people? If when you're heading to Karamoja, you can barely sit still because the road is very bad. But when you're heading to Mbarara, you can even sleep on the wheel because the road is amazing. You would think you're actually going to heaven. These are the things we usually ask ourselves, that is it different? Are people from a specific area of the country, do they have a different color of blood? Are they just inferior naturally, or is there something fundamentally going wrong? And when you talk about those kinds of things, then you recall what probably the NRA stood for back when they were trying to fight for power. When President Museveni himself was saying that he wants to change Obote's sectarian tendencies, he wants to change the tribalism issues, and then you ask 30 years down the road, and he has done nothing but deepen that divide. He has made the wounds fresher and fresher every day. So I think it's a very bad thing that he would be very self-centered. Of course, he's entitled to some of his privileges as head of state, but to own a jet which even a president of the United States of America does not own, and yet your people are still dying from hunger, it does send a really interesting message.
It really does. And those of us who are educated on it and know what's going on in the country, we see these things and we can't even appreciate what he's doing and what he's done because of things like this. I know that even like you were making the comment of flying his daughter to Germany to have a baby, they pay for airtime, they pay for the controllers to get them down to the ground, they have to pay a lot more money for those planes to be housed there while they're waiting, and it just is amazing to me. And I understand too what you're saying about some being treated better, or maybe the bloodline is different for some than others, but this is my question here. I mean, I feel like all the Ugandan people can walk arm in arm. You don't have to see eye to eye on every issue and everything that's going on, but it doesn't mean that you can't walk arm in arm for a better Uganda. Even in the United States of America, within our Congress, even right now, I mean, there's fights, there's deliberations, there's a whole lot of, things going on, but we still stand united as the United States of America, even though we don't always see eye to eye and there's a lot of bickering and fighting. And I think that this president probably had very good intentions and very good ideas when he went into office, but somewhere the corruption has changed him into an unrecognizable person, because a lot of his leaders, his colonel, his general, and some of his other people are starting to flee into exile away from him because they can no longer stand to be a part of the injustice and the cruelties that are taking place. So I mean, I think it's honest to say that, somewhere he turned into this beast that no one recognizes anymore.
Well, yes. I just told you about the cars that he's just purchased, and the fact that the State House is the only entity that has supplementary budgets as big as they are. State House can have a supplementary budget of about 500 billion, but you see, it's even worse if he makes it legal. You understand? With the new Finance Act, about 65% of oil revenue is going to finance supplementary budgets. When you get down to the bottom of it, only State House actually has supplementary budgets. So in short, what he is saying is that 65% of the oil revenue is going to State House. But State House is not even paying for its students who are in Makerere University in time. It only pays their tuition when there is a threat that they will not sit exams because they've not cleared tuition. And yet, a private student who is earning a living, who is trying to maybe actually to make bricks for a living, is trying so much to pay the tuition painfully and has done so by the end of the semester. But this State House student is having a very, very smooth ride, and yet State House is consuming all these supplementary budgets and not even doing what it should be doing. But when you compare this to the Museveni that in about 1987, 88, who would appear on UTV, this guy was even taking coffee in a plastic cup. And he was saying, I'm supporting Uganda nicer house of plastics. And he said, I'm going to go, there's a very it's a handy showroom here where there are carpenters who actually, who do real handiwork. There's nothing like a machine to simplify the work or refine it. It's really raw, but you can see it is the product of hard work. They're carpenters here in Uganda, and one time he was saying he's going to buy his bed from a place here called Kubiri. He's going to buy his bed from here. He's going to take coffee in a plastic mug. He doesn't take in glass cups and all, because he's a revolutionary, and revolutionaries know the life of the people, and that his ministers would ride in cars less expensive than the cars that Obote's ministers rode in, because Obote's ministers had Mercedes Benzes. His would just have a kind of brand of Nissan cars, which would be less expensive. But Brenda, let me tell you right now, if you drove around the streets of Kampala and you wanted to look, if you saw the Porsche's cars, you just have to look at the number plate and see HDF, that's for UPDF. So you have army officers driving the most expensive cars whose engines are really, really, really big. They're about 3.3 cc's, and that's really expensive for Ugandan, because if you're having someone who is a government worker consuming fuel of about 500,000 shillings every day, and then you're having 500,000, I think, is about $200 something, and then you're having another civil servant who's a teacher using that amount of money in 3 months, then you really start to wonder, where did it go wrong? What doesn't the president seem to be getting right? Is it that over time he seems to have realized that spending more on his officers in uniform is going to be more productive and more secure for him to stay in power than actually empowering an ordinary teacher? Because he came by the gun, I think he believes that he can only go by it. And all these kinds of things shape your understanding of why he's doing what he's doing the way he's doing it.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting and very, very informative. We're going to, for my listeners, we're going to take a break here, just a 3-minute break here. You have been listening to Freedom at Hand here with Miss Brenda and Anna Adek, the elected guild president there at Makerere University. Please join us in about 3 minutes. We'll come back for the second half of this program. If you wish to, we are going to open the lines and you can call in with comments or be a part of the conversation. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Tunakola tutya kigambo kya ssente
Brenda, and you are listening to Freedom at Hand. Some of you may just be coming on the air right now because it is 9 o'clock here in the United States of America. We're at the top of the hour, and you may be used to our old programs that started at 9 o'clock, but we have had a switch in our lineup, so we do start at 8 o'clock a.m. On Sunday. So welcome to Freedom at Hand. I am here with Dorothy and Anna Adek, the President-elect Guild from McCary University, and we've been having some interesting conversations here so far this morning. One of the things I do want to go into, Anna, the 3 billion shillings that was paid here to an attorney there in Uganda to defend the sitting president at the ICC. What is that all about? Tell us what you know of that, and only in what makes you comfortable and what you feel comfortable to talk about here.
Well, I think it's one of the most outrageous things. You know, while we're here turning and tossing like that we don't have money for teachers, one individual is begging that kind of money just for a case as obvious as that one. He's called Severino Twinobusinje, a very, very controversial lawyer. I have seen him. He's also been representing the state in the current case that is seeking to throw the rebel MPs out of parliament, rebel MPs as they have been called. And, well, one thing is for sure, that he does agree with the state and all those kinds of things. But even when we go and look at the advocates' remuneration rules and laws, 3 billion it's not even twice the amount that he's supposed to get. It is more than 20 times the amount that he's supposed to get for such a case. But if they're ready to lavishly spend on defending something that is very obvious, on defending injustices that this regime has committed, then I think that the message it should tell us is about the remorselessness of their actions. They're not sorry about all the atrocities committed in northern Uganda. They're not sorry about the atrocities in the Luwero Triangle during the war, and they would be they're willing to do everything, including to sell the entire country, to part with such a very lavish sum to defend their names. And you're parting with such money when we have people who cannot even afford a meal a day. We have a Ugandan who's living on less than $1 a day, because that is the average That's the average expenditure, less than $1 a day for every Ugandan. And yet, such money is going to defending human rights abusers of this government. I think it's a very bad thing. But still, it should tell us as people in this struggle what kind of people we are going to be dealing with. Because it's one thing to be asked to offer legal services and you actually agree, another thing to back such money. I think it's a very selfish thing, also on the part of the lawyer, and time will tell. Really, they're being so unpatriotic.
I think so too. It's amazing to me because with everything happening and all the poverty and people that are literally dying daily, living off of $1 a day, you're going to pay this one lawyer $3 billion to help fight and stand up against crimes that have happened towards humanity. Dorothy, chime in on this. Tell me how you feel about this amount of money being spent on this individual.
You see, Miss Brenda, this is very, very sad. When I came on, Miss Anna was trying to explain to us how these teachers are going to be paid 30% in a month or also, because this is very, very sad. If the government of Uganda cannot pay teachers the 20% which was promised to them years ago, then they turn around and they say that they're going to be paying them, they should go back to class and they will be paying them 30%. I mean, that will never happen. That cannot happen. I don't understand, because I saw teachers are really angry. They said the union betrayed them. I don't know if these union leaders, were they paid off? Were they intimidated? What happened here? That teachers had to go back. I mean, if they can't get 20%, how are they going to get 30%? That will never happen. That is not to happen. But going back to your question, Miss Brenda, that is exactly, unless we Ugandans, we get up, my dear, it will not end. Okay? Miss Anna just told us the 80% of the oil revenue will be going to supplementary budget, which is the state house. But how is this going to happen? So, if that lawyer can get 3 billion shillings to go defend Museveni on ICC, remember Mr. Museveni is very bent on ICC. First of all, he wanted the white people out. The ICC should be all African leaders. They can decide their own fate. Because he knows all the dictators are going to agree with him. He knows for sure he has committed a lot of atrocities. Okay? And the ICC is looking. I hear Mrs. Kadaga, go join ICC, do what, and do whatever. Because Mr. Museveni is planning to pull out or whatever. He will pay an amount of money to defend his life. But now, Miss Anna and Miss Brenda, thank you very much bringing this about. Okay? Now, if Museveni can manage to pay 3 billion shillings to one lawyer, what did he do that he deserved to be paid that amount of money? Okay, let us agree that Museveni is really in trouble in the ICC and he's willing to defend himself. But what kind of crime is this? So exactly, this is why our teachers will never be paid. This is why we will never have hospitals. This is why we will never afford even to have water, running water in these hospitals, okay? These are the priorities of the man calls himself, who has all the vision. 3 billion shillings to one man? For what? And the teachers cannot get a 20% increase. When are things going to change?
Yeah, and it's like Anna was saying, and you can comment on this too, Dorothy, because Anna was saying earlier that it's not that monies are not there. They're just appropriated out in ways that doesn't benefit the Ugandan people, which is exactly what this is showing if you're going to pay this lawyer that much money to defend them in the ICC.
Yes, because now, Miss Brenda, if you look at this, Miss Anna may pick up on this one. Sometimes they do these things to put them in the book. Actually, eventually you might go to realize the real amount of the money was given to this lawyer maybe is 1 billion, but the other 2 million, they have to find accountability for this money, because this is what they do. As Miss Anna also mentioned, in Uganda, they have money. They have money. Some time back, we had very good ladies and gentlemen who lobbied for the Ugandan debt to be paid off. People lobbied, and the donor countries, they dropped this debt, you know. But now it is like 5 times more. They keep getting this money, but you can't see something that benefits Ugandans that is being, you know, done. And yet, we are responsible. We and our grandchildren are responsible for paying this money back. But you don't see. The point is, the money is, you can't say they don't have the money. They have the money, but they have really chosen to mismanage. Okay? When you talk about the ghost teachers, when you talk about the ghost soldiers, when you talk about the ghost policemen, when you talk about the ghost schools, how come that these people who are really do not exist, they are paid off first?
Yeah, we have a call.
Where in the world can you afford to buy a saucepan for 2 million shillings? Was it 2 million or 1 million? I mean, what kind of saucepan is that? The system is broken.
I know. And hold on just a second for me, Dorothy, on that thought. We've got a call coming in. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Miss Brenda. Thank you so much for the program, and I thank you, Dorothy, as well as Miss Anna Adek. I think Miss Anna Adek, you are a true patriotic. According to someone to be patriotic is someone who can oppose the government's policies once in a while. And you've done such a great deal to educate the youth of Uganda. What I've called about is to talk about the money that's being wasted to the ministers. First of all, the government of Uganda has such a huge cabinet. And if you look at, if you compare the cabinets of other African countries, Uganda, I think, is number 3 in the entire world with a huge cabinet. First of all, they have a minister for youth. They have a minister for, you name it. They have different types of minister. Next time you're going to have a minister for short people, minister for tall people, minister for fat people, minister for skinny people. I mean, Museveni is doing all this. He's doing all this for corruption because he wants as many people to join his government. By doing so, they are supporting him, and in doing so, he's wasting money to pay this type of ministers in his cabinet, and this money could have gone to help the people of Uganda. This money could have helped to pay the teachers. But now we have all this money wasted on this useless type of, ministers. It is incredible that Ugandans have not waken up to see where the country is headed. And secondly, and lastly, I would like to tell my fellow listeners that Uganda will only be developed only when Museveni and his family are able to be treated inside Uganda instead of flying out. As long as Uganda cannot treat its own president, as long as Museveni does not see fit for him to be treated in that country, why is he leading that country? Why does he think that his Ugandans would like to be treated in those type of hospitals when he himself flies away to go to be treated somewhere else? Anne Adek, God bless you. Thank you so much, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, caller. And let me just make this one comment, and we're going to go to Anna to see what she thinks about this. In the United States of America, we have our houses, our constitutional houses, and we have our speakers of the house, and we have, the way everything runs. Within all of our Congress, those people that sit in Congress, they have 1 or 2 or 3 other duties. They don't get paid any more money. They don't get a special allowance or anything for those things. It's a duty and a part of being privileged to be voted in to sit on like the foreign affair committees or, other type of committees that we have set up for different things. We use the same people that are already in place. It saves the United States money, and it keeps you from having these huge cabinets of people that you have to pay. What do you think about what the caller just said about Parliament just being way, way too large?
Oh yes, Parliament is way too large, not only because of getting more people on his side, but because he has learned to use the divide and rule policy very efficiently. You see, when you break down a district into so many other tiny districts, that means you have an RDC, a resident district commissioner, you have a DISO, you have an ISO, you have all those kinds of people who are government representatives in the district. Now, what this does is that it consolidates that district even better, because a smaller district, you have better deployment and you can efficiently survey what the people are doing. You see, Brenda, this is how it works. When you have a smaller district, an RDC is appointed by the president himself. So this RDC is your representative there. He's going to make sure that a propaganda goes that the government is the best. Remember, we are talking to people who are not so informed, who do not know things like how the oil revenue is being misused, how they're very dubious public sharing they're very dubious PSAs, all those sharing agreements that are not known about how everything is being stolen in this country. These people don't know this because they have no access to this information. Now, if you have such people who are not knowledgeable about the truth, and then you have someone who is your representative there, who is being well facilitated, constantly telling them and reminding them about how good you are and spreading wrong propaganda, then you're definitely bound to be in the hearts of those people. But also, if such people notice that there's any opposition arising in a certain place, they will sufficiently crack it down, because now the area has been reduced and it's easier to actually monitor and crack down on such things. The other thing that annoys the most is that the argument advanced while they are breaking down all these districts is because they want development to reach the common man. They'll say we need it to be smaller so that we can reach each one of you well sufficiently. But they will come and put headquarters, and that will be the end of it. The so-called development that's going to reach you, it will never reach, but there will be. But remember, this is more tax on you, a taxpayer, because you're paying an extra salary for a member of parliament. You're paying an extra salary for all those administrative officers, the chief administrative officer, the resident district commissioner, the ISO, all those kinds of officials representing the government. That means your taxes are going to increase. It's going to be more pressing on you, because while you're paying more salary for all these offices that have been created, nothing is coming back to help you. The boreholes are not going to be, constructed to help you, the nomadic pastoralists. You're not going to have roads made better to help you, the agriculturalists, so that you can easily transport your produce to areas of sale. Instead, the money that's supposed to be doing that is going to be going to pay members of parliament, to bribe them to stop talking in the house, to keep them silent, to have more spies at the district level. It's just completely bizarre. But that's just one of the many ways dictators like Museveni are entrenching themselves in power. And to give us a parliament that is so big, Brenda, we have members of parliament who don't even talk for the 5 years. I mean, they'll tell you a member of parliament has died, and you'll think to yourself, oh, there was a member of parliament called this. I didn't know that.
Wow, that's amazing. Dorothy, what do you have to say about that?
Thank you very much, Miss Brenda. First of all, we can imagine Mr. Museveni's cabinet. It is not only too large, but also you can imagine the amount of money these ministers, the MPs, the RDCs, whatever they are, the amount of money that these people are being paid to. Because remember, they are people. At a certain point, they think and they say, wait a minute. That's why you have seen even the MPs The NRM MPs, leaving alone these gentlemen that have been rebel MPs. But there have been times when the NRM MPs themselves, they've said, no, this is not a go. We are not going to do this. And the big man has to summon them to the White House and hold their pay and do ABCD because they are people. At a certain time, they know they are Ugandans, okay? But why is he, first of all, there are so many. The reason there are so many, it is this, the vote, okay? Because when you go in the parliament, that's why everything they say, let's vote, let's vote. Because that's the way he's fighting and winning everything. You can't top him. More districts, more RDCs for him, more representatives for him. That means more votes. That's one of the reasons behind this dividing these little villages, making villages districts. That goes with that. How many districts are there in Uganda? He's the one who directly appoints these RDCs, as Ms. Anna said. Now that means more votes, okay? But another thing is how much these people get paid. Just like that lawyer who was paid 3 billion shillings, it's the same way it goes, as you ladies and gentlemen know. How much do the MPs and these ministers take home? Because they rebel at sometimes they say no, but then he has to go back and call them and threaten them, and after threatening them, then he chooses those who he thinks they are more influential, then he pays them like 5 times more, okay? That's how he has managed to stay in power. And also, when he talks about smaller districts, and making sure that they are serving up to the common man, this has happened. The RDC is NRM, the LOC one is NRM. Okay? So, the radio station, if there is a radio station somewhere back in the remote villages, that radio station is owned to the person who is a strong supporter of Museveni. They selectively choose what do we talk about. Okay? Yeah. What do we talk about here? So the people, the common people down on the grassroots, really, as Ms. Anna has been articulating, they have no way of knowing what the truth is. Okay? Yeah. Now, people have been waking up. Those few people you've seen during elections, you see when people come out and they say we are opposition, and these people struggle to vote them in. But when they get there, they get bribed. That's why really you see even the opposition. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Let me go ahead, Dorothy, just for a second, and go ahead and take this other caller in real quick. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I forgot I just called a couple of minutes ago, and I forgot to say something that was actually on my mind. I understand that Mr. Museveni, I want Ms. Anna Adek to address this question. I understand that Mr. Museveni had appointed Mr. Saizi Mbaguta as Minister of East African Affairs. Now, my knowledge, what I understand, that this Minister Mbaguta has said that he's going to force Swahili to be taught in schools in Uganda. Teaching Swahili straight from, he's going to be forced to be taught in Uganda. And remember, Ugandans do not really speak Swahili that much. Reason being is that Swahili was used by the military to brutalize Ugandans, and in that sense, most Ugandans do not really embrace Swahili. Now, I understand, maybe Ms. Anna Adek might correct me on this one, that the teachers that are going to be hired, mainly specifically, going to come from Tanzania and Kenya. My question to you is that, where is he going to get the money to pay for these teachers that are supposed to come from Tanzania and Kenya to come and teach Swahili? Because most of our teachers do not speak Swahili that well, do not speak Swahili to the point where they can teach to other students. So, Ms. Anna, what do you think would happen, and how are people going to react to such enforcement of language to be taught in Uganda? Thank you very much.
Okay, Anna, did you hear that? You can go ahead and answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Well, 2 things. There's no problem with Swahili as such. Yes, it's true, it has a very militant background. but the East African country speaking Swahili is okay, and maybe the argument that I know now will be advanced is for unity as an East African community. But that, in comparison to what is on ground, is very unfortunate. One, because just a few about 6 months ago, I was with the Uganda Students Association here in Uganda called Nkova Zambogo, and we were writing all these petitions and decrying called by the Minister for Education to stop Luganda from being taught in schools. Why? I'm not myself a Muganda, but one thing I appreciate is Luganda is a language that is spoken all over this country. Even in northern Uganda, you can find Luganda there. So now they're stopping. If they want to stop a native language like Luganda from being taught and force Swahili to be taught, then really what are they seeking to achieve? Because we as a country have already got a language that we can identify ourselves with. Why are you stopping it from being taught? I mean, there is no harm in schools teaching Luganda. But on the other hand, let's look at the far-reaching effects of this. If he's going to say that these teachers have to be brought in, then what does that mean to the salary strain we're already suffering? The government is claiming not to have money, and yet it's saying it's going to contract other teachers. Now, you won't be surprised to find that these teachers they're bringing are actually going to even be paid more than our own teachers. And this something of the sort happened a few years ago when they suddenly stopped the teaching of political education. That had a very, very bad effect, because now there are some teachers who are actually unemployed because the government thought that teaching political education in schools was not safe for them politically, because young people would come face to face with knowledge about how this government came to exist and actually become the architects of how this government can stop to exist. So to keep themselves safe, they keep people in the dark, but they're in the long run actually unemploying many of our own teachers. So what is this going to? What kind of effect is this going to have on us? Of course, with the poor salaries now, some teachers are going to have to be dropped at some point because government cannot take on this strain at this level. But I wonder what he's up to, because Swahili, like the caller asked, it's a militant kind of language. And we've had government officials like the current Minister of Internal Affairs one time saying that if we want, we can make Uganda actually rule like a military state. So maybe this is step one to actually meeting that end, that they start by introducing a militant language before they actually turn it into a militant state. It's already a militant state anyway. They just have to make it formal. So I think this could actually be tending towards that, because there is nowhere we lose out, even in the East African community. There is nowhere we are disadvantaged by not having Swahili predominantly spoken. It's something that people can learn, but it doesn't have to be a must. So why are they making it compulsory? That we really have questions.
Yeah, I can understand that too, because I see what you're saying there. As far as taking politics out of the school system, so they protect themselves there. As far as sending this lawyer, paying him billions of shillings to protect them in the ICC, is protecting their interests again there. It seems like in every course that the government is taking, it's somehow setting itself up for the direction it wants to head, whether the people are on board or not, and it's also protecting itself in its own interests. I have another caller here, so I'm going to go ahead and take this call before I let Dorothy answer that. Caller, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, everyone who is, maybe I'll send this to our listeners. My name is Seneca Doa, as always. And I've just called. Actually, I've come in late, but at least I've heard most of the things that have been talked about. And I'm just adding on what's being said and what's going on right now. I've heard the last caller talking about teachers. I've heard about Swahili going on. And like I said last week, most of these people we got, most of our leaders we have in Uganda right now are not Ugandans at heart. These are the people who are just working for Museveni. They are not working for any Ugandan. I'll give an example of this UNATU. I think people in Uganda understand about this association. I think it's an association helping out teachers or whatever. And when you see what happened like a few days ago about the agreement they signed with the government to let teachers go back to school, I mean, who can be fooled like how these people did or betrayed the teachers by doing? I think that was it wasn't a wrong deal. It was just corruption, like preventing itself in the Ugandans themselves. When you look at this lady, because I watched her, I looked at her when she was, delivering this evil information or message to the Ugandans and to the rest of the people in the world, saying that teachers have agreed to go back to class. That way, they can go teach and they'll be paid in I don't know how many years. So they have been negotiating with the government at least for the last 2 years, and they could not get their 20%. At this point, they are willing to go back to class, to teach, and they will be paid 30%. This lady is called Rara Saija. I guess she's the spokesperson or chairman, UNATU, I guess. That's what she was saying. And then, I thought about this, and I'm like, who can be fooled by accepting to go to class when they haven't even been paid their 20%, but now the government is willing to give them 30%? Let me let you guys know that this is a lie. These people got the yellow envelope, as now we normally call it. It's a yellow envelope. They got corrupted. They got paid to come and convince the teachers, and not all the teachers went back or bought this idea. Like I said, they had their 9,000 quack teachers ready to go, and now most schools, some of the teachers were fired already, and these 9,000 are in place. These 9,000 teachers are teaching right now. Those are the people we are seeing. We are watching on TVs in classes. These are the people we are seeing talking about, teachers being paid in probably the next financial year. Like, that's what I had. They will be paid their 30%, but the government has failed to pay them 20%. Where are they going to get the 30%?
I know, because, caller, let me ask you this. In most countries, now let's get out of the continent of Africa, but in most countries, if there is a standoff for better rights or better pay or whatever, there's usually a contract signed in hand and the money is given and promised before you ever go back to continue what you were doing. This is like they went back empty-handed. They didn't really get anything.
This has been happening. It's been happening not only 2 days ago, but it's even in the last 2-3 years when this negotiation started. They were promised. I don't know how you're going to operate. People do not operate on paper. They don't put their negotiations in writing. They don't put their agreements in writing. Their agreements are oral. They just say, okay, the government said, or you guys, because these guys, the UNATU, wherever heads, were taken to the house. And they were given foods, they were given money, they were given everything. So now they came out saying, well, we've made a deal, now teachers should be able to go to school. But they have been protesting. They have been on strike for not being paid 20%. And now they are ready to go. Teachers, if you ever go back to those classes, make sure you don't go on strike no more, because our kids are the ones suffering. If you decide to do that, do it and get paid. Have a reason for why you're doing what you're doing, but do not get fooled. And in the end, we end up suffering. We, the parents, who pay for those, for our kids to go to school to acquire that knowledge. That's what I'm doing. Then I have another point. Another point was I had the last caller talking about Swahili. I'm someone who really could. As I say, I was in Makerere University, I think, in 2003, and I know what I'm talking about. Any country or any developed country should have a language. Uganda is ready to take on Uganda because, like I said, I've traveled. I've been in different places, in different parts of Uganda. I've been in the neighboring countries, Rwanda, Kenya, and Tanzania. But I've used both planes, and I've used buses to go to those countries. But when you sit in a bus, you'll be listening to those people speaking Luganda and Uganda. You see Indians in Uganda speaking Luganda. You see Chinese. You even see Americans speaking Luganda. And now here you come and tell us, hey, you guys, you should drop Luganda and then you just go on with Swahili. Why should we? Because this is, I hate to say, this, but this Museveni guy is getting, foreigners from different countries. And then those people, actually, I got a video that is showing all this. These people are hired, then they are brought into Uganda, they are put into those government positions, and they can't even express themselves in any other language apart from Swahili. They can barely speak English. So now they want to put them into those offices. When you look in the military, what do you see? We are seeing all foreigners. The only language they can speak is Swahili. Ugandans, most especially.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting that you make that comment because it would be the same as saying in the United States, because most of our immigrants are Spanish speaking. Now the United States says, okay, everybody in the United States are going to have to learn to speak Spanish, and that's going to be our tongue. Can you imagine the chaos and the confusion? You continue to keep yourself out of a position of growth, because the growth is going to then become people focusing in on how to communicate with each other again, instead of what is at hand and what needs to be taken care of. That's true. And like I was saying, I think every year we get like how many graduates? Students graduate like probably 1,000 or more than 1,000, probably 2, 3, 4, 5,000 students every year. But when you go to offices right now, you're gonna find Kenyans, you're going to find Rwandese, and then Ugandans themselves are complaining. They are facing unemployment right now. And then you're wondering, why are we going through this? So Makerere students, Chambogo, you guys have to fight. You really have to do this, because if you don't, we're going to end up, we are paying a lot, especially privately sponsored students. You guys are paying a lot of money. You're paying too much, way, way too much. And you're not getting nothing out of your, out of your fees or tuition, whatever. So that's why Swahili is kicking in right now, because you're gonna end up, graduating. You don't know how to speak Swahili, and guess what? You will go back on the streets. So we are advocating. We are fighting with you. We are with you guys. And we're going to have to do whatever it takes to make sure that all these things are, washed away from the government. Because we need transparency. We need... Exactly. I understand that. Anna, I want to give Anna just a second. You can stay on the line, caller, with us. Anna, what do you think the students can do to bring about the awareness of this, to somehow change the course of this before it happens? Or do you feel like the caller is saying it's just going to condemn the students, that they're going to get out with an education that they won't even be able to use because they don't understand the language?
Oh, well, it's very interesting. Well, first he asked how many graduates every year from Makerere University. Just in January, we had 12,000 graduating from Makerere University. And not even a quarter of those get jobs every year. But anyway, aside from that, the students do have a say, but the question is, are they interested in what's happening around? Now, I realize that we as a student leadership have something to do. We need to create debate around how feasible it is, our future, if Swahili is going to become compulsory, the future of so many of us, thousands of us who are not fluent in that dialect, and what challenges it's going to pose for us. When we come face to face with the challenges of such a decision, then we can be able to forge a way forward. But it's very difficult for you to just tell students that, Swahili is being made compulsory, and could end up being the official language of the country. So where are you standing right now, and are you favorable in the job market? How are you going to face these challenges? It's very important that we start to center debates around this. And it being a recent thing, personally, I'm going to see if I can organize and have a forum on which students can discuss and agree that it's dangerous to have Swahili being made compulsory.
Well, good, because I do think that that's probably one of the first and the biggest steps that need to be taken here. Dorothy, do you want to chime in on what we were talking about here?
Yes, Miss Brenda, I want to come in. My fellow Ugandans, we have a lot of questions lingering about this Swahili deal. First of all, we all agree that current teachers in Uganda cannot be paid because the reason given, there is no money. Okay? Now, as I already mentioned, the teachers who are going to teach this Swahili, they are going to be from outside. They're going to be paid more. But you wonder, if we can't afford to pay the current teachers in Uganda, how imperative, how beneficial is the Swahili to Uganda? That you can actually ignore the nurses and the doctors, you can ignore the current teachers in Uganda, and then you have the funds to fund this Swahili project. Ladies and gentlemen, there is something going on. Okay? Miss Anna mentioned, is it because they want to make a Uganda military state? Yes, that is one of the points. But there is one big point. First point, as the previous caller stated already, okay? For me, I have no problem with the Swahili. Okay? Our people, some of our people are terrified because of the way Swahili has been used in the past. But there are some Ugandans, as we are talking right now, who are fluent in Swahili. Swahili has been taught in Ugandan high school institutes for so long. Swahili is already in schools right now. Okay? People who want to learn Swahili languages, the chances are available, they can go and learn Swahili. But why is it so imperative that we can push everything on the side and bring Swahili in? Not only bringing it in, but they have a nerve to take Luganda out of the schools. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a plan, a very good plan. That's why we say, when they say they don't have money for teachers, it is not true. They have money for teachers. The money is there. But they have their own agenda. There are certain things that must be done. Okay? As we know, Uganda was hijacked. When President Kagame stands up and tells you right now there is no border between Uganda and Rwanda, he means what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. Okay? There is no border between Burundi and Uganda. They know what they are talking about. There is a well-funded agenda to make sure that when Uganda tombs were banned, they know what they are doing. Our country was hijacked by men who are not Ugandans. Their idea is not only to kill Ugandans, not only to starve them, not only to make them poor, but actually they are trying to erase certain kind of people, and then they bring in and mix everything, and they make sure certain things never existed. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the Tutsi Empire, this is where it is. First of all, make sure that the original people and their culture sites and their kings and everything is erased away. Then after that, take away their languages. Then introduce something else. Now, when we talk about there is no border between Uganda and Rwanda, that everybody who comes in, this is a new country, this is a new dynasty. That's where we are at. Okay? If you are wondering why these things are happening, this is why they are happening. Okay? Everybody, Luganda is a very good language. Luganda is very easy to learn. But why is it? I don't have a problem learning Swahili, but why make it compulsory? Why make it on top of everything else? And why would you have to take Luganda out of schools to introduce Swahili? People love Luganda. As Anna stated, people speak Luganda all over. Uganda and outside. Even in Rwanda, they speak Luganda. Tanzania, they do. In Kenya, they do. Okay? Why would you take Luganda out of school to introduce this? That is the agenda. If you are wondering why should Swahili take a top priority on all other things, there is no money to pay our teachers right now, and you have money to bring in foreign teachers to teach Swahili. Why? That is the reason. Swahili versus Uganda. Our country was hijacked. These men are not going to stop until we get up. This is the only reason why. They are trying to oppress the original people. They are trying to erase us. Okay? Museveni hates Uganda and all his heart. Okay? If you think this is not true, please, ladies and gentlemen, you need to go out there and start making your own research. Last week, when we had a visitor, the professor from Makerere University, Mr. Kakinda, he explained to us how they fought to make sure they put a committee to represent Uganda, because the president and his people, they were determined to make sure they take Uganda out of schools. And these men, gentlemen, fought so hard to make sure they have a committee, Uganda stay in schools, and they have a committee to represent them. But they are going to put this committee. But when they put the committee, the gentlemen who are passionate about Uganda, the professors who teach Uganda to university, they were all excluded in this committee. Okay? There is a well-planned agenda to put Baganda to an end, to make sure the northern Uganda, they don't exist. So this is not something simple. I'm not, you can say I'm biased, but when Miss Anna, you asked why, Mr. Senkadwa said, why? You wonder, why is this so? So this is why it is. If you don't agree with me, you need to get busy, go do your own research. This is where we are coming to. That if we don't fight it so hard, in the next 5-10 years, if this man is in Uganda and doing things the way he's doing them, it is going to be a totally different idea. Miss Anna, you talked about political education. Why did they have to scrub it off the board that we don't have political education? If it existed, it would be foreigners to teach this political education who don't have a heart for Uganda, because you cannot tell a teacher, a Ugandan teacher, who has been around, who has been seeing all these things, the way they roll, how Museveni came to power, how they have lied to us, how they have hijacked our education system and put everything to Rwanda, and now we are getting the opposite, okay?
Yeah,
and tell him to teach political education and lie to the students in class to tell them something which is not true. That's why they have to bring somebody who's not passionate about the country.
I agree with that, because it would make more sense to do it that way. Let me go ahead and I've got another caller coming in. So, caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, how are you, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kalimagezi from UK here, as always. I would love to appreciate all you guys for the efforts you are doing over there. I would love to welcome the guests, Anna, and my sister who has just given up the comment. Okay, the issue that I've just had of Swahili, we have to be very, very careful or very, very sensitive about the Swahili language as being introduced in Uganda. We can go back to the countries that we can look from. Those countries sat down and they saw that which are the most spoken languages, indigenous languages. So right now we have Luganda, we have Nyankore Nyoro Rutoro, Nyankore Ruchiga, we have Acholi, we have which is being spoken by Ugandans. So I expected the president, or I expected the MPs to sit down and table down these languages in order to be made international languages, rather than going outside and pick a language which is not even spoken by 2% of the population. I don't know whether the guest from Uganda, who is Mr. Anna? Miss Anna.
Yes, it's Anna Deb, yeah.
Yes, she can bear with me. I think, Miss Anna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think Swahili is not spoken by 2% of the population in Uganda. And bear in mind that the Faculty of Social Science in Makerere University can go back to the history of Swahili. Swahili was a language whereby when we were born, we knew that Swahili was a language of thieves. If someone speaks Swahili to you, you will know that, this is a muyaye or this is a thief. So I expected the government...
Yes, okay.
I expected the government to take out this fear from the people first so that they can introduce in the Swahili. And back in Tanzania, the people of Tanzania have found out that there is nowhere Swahili can take them. Because when they go out, Miss Anna, I want to give you this, or even the listeners. The people of Tanzania who are fluent in Swahili, they have found out that when Nyerere put them to speak Swahili, they were cut off from the outside world. The people of Tanzania couldn't express themselves. You see them around, they couldn't express themselves. So we really, really thank the British who helped us to do what? To bring our syllabus in English. We expressed ourselves. And the other thing is we can see, leave alone Tanzania, there is Zanzibar and there is Tanzania mainland. In Zanzibar, they speak Swahili only, but the syllabus in Tanzania mainland, it's in English. Some of the schools, some of the international schools are in English. So you can see they are copying up. And Anna, you can bear with me that you've got a lot of students from Tanzania. Why are they in Makerere? You know why?
Anna, did you hear the question there?
Yes, we have a very big number of students from all these countries, and actually it's surprising, but they seem to be even advancing their study of English more than Swahili.
So I expected the government to go back to all these skeptic attribution or to do all these fundamental whatever before they introduce in this. And Anna, the other thing I wanted we left Uganda, we didn't go through Makerere University, but Anna, I want to tell you this. There is a big challenge that is facing you guys over there in Makerere. Your students that you are leading, some of them are not giving out a good picture outside Makerere. I don't know whether you are aware of this, but you guys have to sit down and know that we are Ugandans. So no matter what language, no matter what civilization that is being brought in, we still have our norms, tradition, and culture. I heard the debate of the Minister for Youth and whatever, the silly comments that he brought in. Some of the dressing the Makerere University students dress, it's horrendous. You understand? So I expected you as a leader to show a good example when we are showing all of this. And I expect you as a leader to show that there can be a revolution that can be started out by students. We have seen students starting up revolutions. Students are very, very, very hostile people. When they say we don't want this, I don't expect students to sit down and they are being offered things that they don't like. We have seen in Mexico, in Brazil, in USA, in UK here, students, when they say they want to do this, they do it. So I expect you to have good leaders who can orchestrate a very good revolution and something can be done. So I think those were my words, but the challenges goes to you guys as leaders of the students. We can expect something to come from you guys. If you guys say a no, it's a no, it can be a no. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for calling in and for your comments. Anna, I'm going to let you address that. I just want to say this before you get started. I understand what he's saying because in a lot of other countries, and even here in the United States of America, a lot of great things have happened because students have band together, stood on issues and stood on rights that they are compassionate about. I know one of the things that you say that you've started doing with the students there at McCary University is the Black Mondays. Against corruption. So can you just share a little bit about how you feel about what he just said and some of the things that you feel like you can implement to bring about change and bring the students together to, for common good?
Well, thank you, Brenda. The caller had very, very interesting comments, and I think I agree with him when it comes to we as student leaders and what we should be doing to help most of our counterparts start to see things the way they actually are. Because if I'm to give you a scenario, we've been trying very much. We've been getting Black Monday newsletters and sharing them, and making it as popular as we can. But you see, we need to do more than this. The students here are not just, they're not dormant because they don't know. It's that they have not been helped to know and to be involved, if you understand what I mean. I've already told you about the kinds of students we have these days. As students, they're in a very fragile state of their lives where they've come from a certain education system where they've been closed from knowing the realities. They've been hidden from them. They're just not in the know about some things. And remember, there's a common saying that information is power. So they don't have enough information to help them feel empowered. And the last thing you want to be doing as a student leader is probably asking students to rally behind you for a cause in which they don't believe, for a cause in which they are not passionate about, which they don't have sufficient information about, because then you can't sustain it. You're on the front line, and you have soldiers who don't know why they're there. It's easy for them to just walk away because they're not passionate about the reason why they should be there. What we are trying to do is one, start to empower these young people with this kind of information. I've told you about the different forms in which we're trying to do this. As student leaders, we would like to give them information in using documentaries. We'd like to give them information using newsletters. We want to start up. We have a newspaper, a university newspaper. The caller is from McCary University. I'm sure he knows about the Macquarian. And the newspaper is well circulated. The only problem is that it just lacks funding because we want to give every student a free copy. Now, if that newspaper, I've already talked to my Minister for Information, we want to dedicate an entire edition into Macquarie and the education sector, where we went wrong, the journey of broken promises that has been made, the 10-point program which had education at a very good position in the 10-point program that Museveni had, and where we are standing now. Macquarie, as it used to be then compared to what it is now. These are the things that will evoke people's minds to start thinking about their roles, the roles that they can play in trying to make this university better. Because if you don't tell someone about the fact that this is a public university, by the way, not many university students know that. They don't know the definition of a public university because guess what? They don't bother to find out what is beyond them. So if you tell them the University and Other Tertiary Institutions Act has it clearly set out that this is a public university. A public university is one maintained on the consolidated fund. So where are we right now? Macquarie is a public university, but we're doing literally everything. So where is the taxpayers' money going? It's supposed to be running this university, but private students are privately running it. They're the ones making the roads. They're the ones providing lighting. They're the ones providing security. They're paying their lecturers. It's de facto a private university. So when you put them in such a position with such information equipped, and they know about these things, then they start to naturally form ideas about how they can make it better. It's important at this point to say no, because as a student, you're struggling with tuition-related issues, and yet the answer could be right in front of you, but you've never bothered to exploit that. So what is necessary for the student movement now? And I'm not talking about Makerere just because we're the #1 university in this country. I'm talking about all the universities in this country. Now they're even more than 20. What is important is that students actually start to get informed. Information is power. When people are knowledgeable about things, then they start to naturally form solutions. Because if they see a problem, then they want to see a better Uganda. They want a Makerere University, where even those who are unprivileged, who have not gone through the best education system because of, say, lack of equal development, can have a chance to actually come and be in this university and change their lives by acquiring substantive education from here.
Yeah.
So these things are very important. We need to awaken debates regarding this. And you will ask me as a student leader what I'm doing, because I think we need to move away from what we should do and actually start doing it. Right now, I am trying my level best to lobby for all these kinds of debates. I am setting up a debate on corruption and the education sector. I hope that it will happen on the 18th of October. Like I told you, we had a debate regarding the youth fund just on Monday last week. And we're trying our best. I'm trying to use everything I can to reach students and tell them that these are the things that matter, and it is time. Actually, time has passed. You should have said something already, but you're not saying anything, so you must act, and act really fast.
Yeah, and we appreciate you so much, Anna, because just from the conversations I've had with you and the things that we've discussed, I know that your push on campus to rally up the students and getting them headed in the right direction is there. I still have callers on, so I'm going to give each one of you, my callers, just a couple of minutes to wrap up some of the things that have been discussed before we go off the air. So I'll go to you, Dorothy, first, and then I'll go to my last caller after that, and then we'll wrap up the show. So go ahead, Dorothy. You just have a couple of minutes here.
Oh, Miss Brenda, so we are pretty much out of time. So there is a new topic. I'll bring it next time, I guess. I will just go ahead and wrap up because Miss Anna, I don't know if she has any information, but I think we can get ready next time and we see about how Mr. President is asking the parliamentarian to give him another 2 years instead of going to election in 2016 and go to 2018 because he thinks he has some important amendments that he needs to do. I will go ahead and kind of wrap up. Miss Anna, pretty much you have said everything and made a good comment about the last caller. I keep pushing for this. We can all demand and we can all expect from the youth, our leaders. We think they are leaders of today and other people think they are leaders of tomorrow. We can demand all these things from them. But where are we? Where are we in helping Miss Anna to do best what she needs to do? You see, she has already explained to us. There's a lot of things going. She has a list of things going on. When students come up and do whatever they have done in the past, there is a helping hand somewhere. These students need to be educated. They need to be empowered. You had education. Information is power. But where are we? Especially we in the diaspora. Where are we to support Miss Anna? Where are we to support these students? Where are we to educate them? What are we doing to support them? That is my question, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get behind this and make sure that our leaders for today actually start leading now. But they need our help. They need our funding. I'm not going to shy away from this. Thank you very much, Miss Brenda. And Miss Anna, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, for that. And we'll go ahead to our last caller here, let him wrap up just a minute or two, and then I'll close out the show. Go ahead, caller.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody that has been on this program. I would leave only one probably a suggestion to Anna. As I say, I was a leader in Makere. That was back in 2003. And I had this plan going. And as you're preparing or planning to have a debate, please incorporate all other universities, all other tertiary institutions. Get them involved in whatever you're doing. That way, when you guys come up, or we come up, because I'm part of you guys. As we come up, with all this effort we are putting in, we should have a unit, like a joint, force to let the whole country, to educate all the students in all tertiary institutions, to let them know what's going on and to let them get involved, in fighting to see that we all achieve our, agendas. Because we go to schools, we are in those tertiary institutions to get out and get into this competitive world and get jobs and improve on our lives. But as we all, we get left behind, we're going to end up losing. So I encourage you to incorporate all. And I think the next time you show up on this program, you should at least tell us that probably we have a visa from Chambogo, from Nakawa, and we start, incorporating them into this program. I think they will benefit more, and, our efforts will be fluctuating, and, we end up getting or achieving what we are supposed to. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you in the next program, or the next time, we on this program.
Thank you so much, callers, for your input on today's show. It has been very informative and very good. I know, too, that what the last caller was just saying, Anna, about really rallying the other universities, getting other President Guilds behind you, and just really moving forward with that. And like Dorothy was saying to all of our listeners, we need to stand behind the students and help them wherever we can. One of the things that Anna was saying is about the free newspaper that goes out on the campus and what they're trying to do there. So it's going to be very, very important for us to stand behind the university and stand behind the students. We can tell Anna what she needs to do. We can tell Anna how we feel like things need to move in a certain direction. But let's get on board. Please go to Voice of Uganda Radio, voiceofugandaradio.com. Go out there and give donations. Your donations will be spent in great ways to start the movement forward. If we say that the youth of Uganda is the force to move Uganda forward, then let's stand behind the youth. We can't just stand and say what they should be doing, but we need to give them some sort of support on our behalf. We're in a better position to give $2 or $3 for a cause that we really feel that we can stand behind. And I know that as Anna continues to be on the Freedom at Hand every Sunday mornings from 8 to 10, we will be able to ask her the questions. We will be able to see if, different things are being implemented and different things are being set up so that we can support them in whatever way that we need to. I thank you so much to all of my listeners. We have gone a little over, and I know that we have a show coming up right after me with Colonel Mundy. I appreciate him for his patience in allowing us to close out the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. All of your comments have been very well taken. There are things for us to ponder over the week so that when we come back together on this platform on Sunday, we can continue the discussions there. I will be your host for the American Connection on Wednesday from 10 o'clock to noon, so I hope that you will be a part of that. I encourage Anna, if she has any time to call in and be a part of that program then as well, that she will do that. Thank you so much. You are listening to Voice of Uganda Radio. This is Miss Brenda signing off for Freedom at Hand. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.